You have better things to do than to job hunt or scramble to find your next great hire. Let Spherian Staffing and Recruiting do it. Visit Spherian online at spherian.com/Utah. We're joined now by Tim LaComb. Tim, good morning. How are you?
Happy Wednesday to you guys. It always throws me off when we have a holiday on the Monday. I got to think it through. It's Wednesday, and happy Wednesday to you.
Happy Wednesday to you also, Tim.
Much appreciated.
Before we get to the BYU news, briefly on the NBA playoffs, were you surprised Minnesota forced a Game 5?
Not necessarily. Talked with Hans and Scotty yesterday briefly during their celebration, 10 years yesterday on the air. And, we talked about that. I think the one thing I have learned about the NBA is when you think you know something's going to happen, beware. This looked, like it had all the makings of a sweep, but Minnesota still had some fight left, and they got really great performance from Anthony Edwards, and everybody else was solid. Karl Anthony Towns was terrific, kind of in the middle of the game, and they were able to win, get it back to Minnesota. So that's a huge win for them. I was expecting a sweep. I still believe Dallas will win, obviously, with the way the series has gone. But again, the minute you think you know something, you don't. So we got to sit and watch this one play out. It's a win for Boston. I think it gives them a little more time to get healthy and get ready for the finals.
As I look at this Dallas team, to me, they made the good midseason trades, no doubt about that. Great draft pick and Lively, and Luka's Luka. But I think the key to this team is Kyrie Irving having his head on straight and not being caught up in some of the other stuff that got in the way of basketball. And when he is focusing on basketball, I think he's very underrated. I think he's a superstar and can do a lot of different things, and particularly in this situation here where he's got some more maturity and is willing sort of to kind of play to the point of a second fiddle. Maybe doesn't sound good, but he's comfortable in his role, which is very vital and important. So I think he is the biggest difference maker as far as them being able to win a title this season. What do you think?
I would partly agree with that. I think his acquisition was one that everybody around the league kind of scratched their head about. It just looked like it was going to take opportunity away from Luka. He definitely thrives with the ball in his hands, but it's been just the opposite. And I think, you made the point that the trade deadline was crucial for them. Their defense was lacking. They didn't have a lot of teeth in the middle. And when they made that move and who they made it for, P.J. Washington is a young guy, but has really stepped up and been big in the playoffs. The weeks or so leading up to the playoffs. And then Gafford, I think Gafford showed his strength last night. He and Luka have a real connection. A lot of lobs and things at the basket, but it gave them that kind of that interior and allows now Luka and Kyrie to just kind of pick apart defenses, and then they have major support behind them at the rim on the defensive side. Those two guys together, really, really daunting task because, you see it each possession, they have the ability to really create a shot for themselves or others on every possession. Those two guys really kind of unlock defenses left, right, and center. And that's been the key. I think their ability to break down those defenses, now that they've got that defense shored up, I would agree with you. Those two guys are phenomenal, and Kyrie, just gives them another gear.
Tim, because you coached and because you were around multiple successful head coaches as an assistant and as a manager, I really am curious about your answer to this, in that Jason Kidd seems to be pushing all the right buttons. Now, we have David Locke on the show every week. He is not a big fan of Kidd, and he doesn't just go and say that, right? He talks to people around the league, traveling with the team. He hears stuff. He knows other people's opinions. He knows why you think him. So there really is something built up about this. And yet at the same time, here's Kidd getting it done. And I wonder if Kidd's biggest strength is managing personalities. And to PK's point, there's a lot of good things going on in Dallas, but they don't get to this level unless they're getting the most out of Kyrie Irving. So is that really Kidd's big success now? How do you balance all the criticism over here and getting fired and all that versus, look where they are now. The results are speaking for themselves.
Yeah, I actually believe that Jason Kidd does a really good job. And, it's nothing earth-shattering, but I think he keeps things really simple. I think he keeps things really level. I think he has been really big for Kyrie. He was in a little bit of a tumultuous part of his career, coming off of the move from Brooklyn and wondering if, is any place going to work for him. So I do believe there has to be some credit given there. And then I just really like, the way that he balances those two guys in terms of their ability to make plays, keep everybody happy. I give him a ton of credit, though. I watched it here with when he was with Dallas and they had Brunson and it came into, beat the Jazz. I thought he pulled all the right strings in that series. I thought, he's a guy who understands what works, understands counters, and then he really plays off of that. This team's playing too well to not have some really good things going on coaching-wise. So I give Jason Kidd all the credit in the world. I did not think a ton of him prior, in his coaching career, but I think he's gained some perspective. He's gained some wisdom. Certainly experience helps everything. And I don't think you can look at Dallas right now and say that, his role has been very, very good there. And I think he's helped his team get where they are.
Egor, man, that's how you pronounce it in Russian. They're going to get a potential lottery pick to come in here and play college ball from Russia. Wow. I mean, Kevin Young, could he pretty much walk on Utah Lake right now?
Well, he probably could because there's so much stuff floating in it.
All right. All right, go to the Great Salt Lake then.
Yeah, for sure. You just walk right along the bottom. No, he's definitely doing unbelievably great things. And, I had the opportunity. I went over, they had father and son's camp this last weekend, which is a big deal. And, thousands of people come, same guys, a lot of the same guys come every year. So I saw so many of these guys and their kids growing up. And I went over on Sunday at the Marriott Center and they had had Ryan Smith speak to the camp. So I went over and just kind of hung out and I got to meet Kevin for the first time, just kind of face to face. And I could tell, he's got so much going on, but I did tell him in our brief interaction, I do not remember a day where the number one recruit in the country, outside of Jabari Parker, he visited campus, but the number one recruit in the country is moving to Utah to go to high school. And there's a lot of reasons around that. And that he's already visited BYU campus prior to making that decision is probably something you can file away. But
who's that? Name that kid.
I'd have to look it up. It's Io. It's an African name, so I don't have it off the top of my head. But he's moving to Utah Prep, and he's coming here they're moving that to Hurricane. And they're going to have it down there.
Kid you're talking about, right? And they've already offered him. He's been offered by everybody.
Is that his last name? Donzo?
I think it's D.Y. DiBonza. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And he went on social media and said he'd been offered by BYU.
That's right. Yeah. He's already been on campus. He's moving out here. Obviously, Egor, I got a random text from your Jake Hatch one day saying, "Hey, what do you know about Egor?" And I said, "As far as I know, he's still Frankenstein's assistant, And then he's like, no, Egor Demin." And I was, I'm not really in the recruiting battle. So I looked him up and whoa, they can get this guy. And sure enough, yesterday the news comes that he's coming. He's doing unbelievably great things. And I think he's got a real plan. The pitch is always everything in college. And so now BYU, what it used to be was, you come here, we're not going to pay you under the table. And you got to live this lock of, honor code. That was kind of our pitch before. And you get to play really cool basketball, in a great setting. Now they're like leading with NBA development with millions of dollars. I think they really have created a niche. So I'm curious to see how it all works out. But so far, so good.
So you think this is going to create its own momentum here? Is that what you're getting at?
I think it can. I mean, obviously everybody goes after their, kind of their story or their niche. And I told Kevin when we were talking, I said, I remember when, Gonzaga became the marquee place for high-level transfers. That was kind of their pitch. And they started picking off these high-level transfers, and then things worked, and the transfers kept coming and kept getting better. When you're talking about going after high-level, particularly Europeans, they want to come to a place where they're going to be prepared to play. They want to come to a place they're going to be very, very safe, and they want to come to a place they're going to be taken care of. And I think BYU can offer all those things to kids. I mean, if Egor's only here for 8-9 months, what a great place to prepare. So a lot of it will go as these first opportunities go. And if they're good results and everybody's happy and can say good things and there's some success had, that's how you create a track record.
Yeah, when you look at it here, as far as this goes, man, things are really setting up for them, with the coaching staff and this guy with his NBA connections. And then I don't think you can underestimate the support that they're going to get and the attention that you're going to get, because you're in the Big 12 now, so you're going to have guys like Fran Fraschilla talking about you all the time, and you're going to be highlighted. So if you're looking for the exposure, you're going to get it here. And they've suddenly found themselves basketball-wise to be in a really good situation.
How about Woj bombs? That's 2 Woj bombs announcing stuff at BYU. It's pretty remarkable when you take into account that they've already gone head-to-head with Kentucky and beat them. For players, they've already gone head-to-head. They beat John Calipari straight up on this kid, Egor, at Arkansas. So there are battles that have not necessarily ever been won that are being won. And again, I've always thought that if you could figure out a way to get people to come out and stand on BYU's campus and understand, walk into that arena. There's a lot of things to sell. And now that they've actually got some, the NCAA's paying and BYU's on the top end of that, from what it looks like, it could really, really be a turning point. BYU basketball has always been crazy successful, but you guys know the drill. They've never been able to get over the hump. A team that's never been to the Final Four with probably the most NCAA appearances not getting in. It's always been a very, very great program, but, looking to break through. And for all intents and purposes, I think they're definitely finding a conduit to kind of break through that wall.
Tim, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for a few minutes. We will talk to you again next week.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for having me on. Good to be with you.
Tim LaComb, Jazz radio analyst, joining us right here on The Zone. A reminder to join JJ and Alex Monday from 3 to 6 for the Show Up for Summer Service Fair at Thanksgiving Point. Learn more at showuputah.org.